Welcome back, everyone, to the Talking Devils podcast brought to you by talkingthedevils.co.uk. I'm your host, Keane Franey, and today I'm joined by former Manchester United player Phil Marsh. And today, it's the big one. It's our preview for Manchester United versus Liverpool. The biggest game in English football, as we all know. Been kind of a whirlwind of emotions this week as a Manchester United fan. If you watched our game last week against Leicester and this week against Atalanta in the Champions League, it's been a whole whirlwind, and we're going to top it off with the biggest game in English football against Liverpool on Sunday. Massive game for both sides in terms of the title race and kind of where both teams are at in terms of that. First of all, Phil, there's been a lot of, I suppose, commotion, a lot of drama, a lot of ups, a lot of downs in the last 7 days since I last spoke to you. How have you been keeping in the last 7 days?
Yeah, good, thanks, mate. All good. Last week in work, it's half term for me now, so I'm off for a week. So just good to get a bit of time to sort of have a chill out and watch some more football, hopefully. But yeah, no, everything's been good, and obviously looking forward to the game on Sunday.
Yeah, look, it's been a great week in terms of if you're a football fan. There's been a lot of great football on the television between the Premier League and the Champions League. But last week, it started this week as a United fan, not so good really. Obviously, we really lost away from home from Leicester, lost that 30 game unbeaten record. Then in contrast to emotions in the Champions League, where we have, it was one of them great, as Ollie said, one of them great European nights at Old Trafford. And look, it was a great game. If you're a neutral, it was definitely a great game to watch. But in terms of, let's just kind of wind the clock back. Let's look back at Leicester last weekend. Obviously, we lost the game 4-2. We lost the unbeaten away from home record. And look, by most accounts, probably not one of our best performances in quite some time. Quite poor by large accounts. What's your overall take on the Leicester game last weekend and kind of how it all panned out and ultimately losing the record?
I mean, again, yeah, it wasn't a very good performance. I think started the game okay. Obviously got our noses in front with a fantastic goal from Greenwood. That was a superb strike, and he has been in some great form, and that was obviously a fantastic start, and was hoping we could build on that, but obviously it wasn't to be. I think it was a bit of a sort of cheap goal to give away in terms of sloppy at the back. Maguire maybe not 100% fit. Probably maybe thought he could have done a little bit better with maybe moving towards that one. Dispossessed, and obviously whether it was a cross or a shot. I mean, Tielemans is a fantastic player. I'd like to think that was a shot. But yeah, nothing anyone could have done about that, especially not De Gea. It was right in the top corner. And then obviously you peg back away from home, crowd gets up, and I think it was always going to be difficult. Leicester, a good side, even though they've been struggling a little bit at the moment. I think it was a good performance from them. Although we didn't play very well, I thought they was quite good. Looked quite sharp and lively all over the pitch. Had a little bit more energy than us, and I just think they sort of got the goals at the key times, really, that sort of took the stuffing out of us. So yeah, again, weren't a great performance. I think the unbeaten record's gone. It was always going to go at some point. Wouldn't get too sort of disappointed with that sort of. I just think obviously the performances really have been sort of a little bit iffy sort of over the last couple of months, really, sort of not being able to put a full performance together for 90 minutes, sort of little spells here and there, bits of individual brilliance that are sort of getting us out of games at times. And I just think obviously especially in the league, we need to sort of be on our A game now with the run of games that we've got coming up, because we definitely don't want to be falling too far behind with some of these big teams that we've got coming up.
Yeah, definitely. I think if you look at that Leicester game, cohesion is definitely a word I've seen a lot in terms of this game. I think there's a lack of cohesion at times in terms of the link between the defence and midfield. I think Maguire, I think if anyone who watched that game from minute one, you could see that he wasn't sharp. He probably wasn't ready to play that game. I think maybe Saturday did come a bit too soon for him. In terms of that. I think again we went through the motions a lot kind of during that game. We didn't really come out of second or third gear for large parts. Obviously, again, brilliant goal by Mason. Like he's shown he's coming on leaps and bounds week by week in terms of his finishing and the maturity in his game. But I do look at that performance, and it was common. Like that type of result was common. If you just mentioned, like in these last kind of couple of months, we've been kind of sleepwalking into results. If you kind of look at like the moments, individual brilliance, last minute winners, David De Gea, being fantastic this season. A result like Leicester was common. It was just we were hoping that the inevitable would be delayed in terms of that type of result. Looking at that game, obviously, a lot of pressure was put on Solskjaer after that performance, after that result, because there's been, I suppose, that level of performance in terms of nothing consistent over a 90-minute period. Then you look at the Atalanta game, the first 45 minutes against Atalanta this week. Again, it looks like we were nearly sleepwalking out in Champions League. That it may have been a case that Europa League football could have been on the horizon. We were all thinking that probably at half time. What was your thoughts just on the opening first 45 minutes against Atalanta? Because for me, we weren't clinical enough in the first half. We did switch off at the back again, conceded from another set piece again, literally a couple of days after conceding one against Leicester. We were in the back of your mind when you were like after the first 45 minutes, were you thinking at that point that this just gonna be another one of them days? And do you think we're nearly getting into a rut that we can't get out of in terms of bad results?
Yeah, 100%. I think obviously the Leicester result was sort of fresh in everybody's mind. Obviously the fans and obviously there's been a lot of pressure put on Ollie sort of in the last week or so. I think that sort of showed in that first half against Atalanta. The players sort of couldn't really get going. Conceded two maybe unavoidable goals, but I think we had chances. We just didn't take them in the first half. It just seemed as though it was going to be one of them nights. But yeah, obviously, to show character in the second half and sort of come back and sort of win the game, I think was something that I didn't really expect, especially after the first half performance. I was obviously expecting the worst. Didn't really see that coming, if I'm honest. But again, it just shows you that that's what the players are capable of, and it's just so frustrating that obviously we're putting in performances like that in the second half and starting the game so poorly and sort of giving ourselves a massive mountain to climb. If we could start like that from sort of the start of the games, it'd be a totally different story. I agree with what obviously Paul Scholes was saying, obviously on the sort of post-match analysis in terms of against Liverpool or one of the better teams in world football. I think the game probably would have been out of sight by half time, and that's the worrying thing really. I think for probably Ollie and sort of United fans in terms of you can't be giving teams that amount of chances and that sort of a lead and then expect to be able to come back every time. It's just not going to happen. It's not sustainable. And again, I just feel as though at the moment you sort of can't really you can't really predict what kind of performance we're going to put in from one game to the next. There's no sort of consistency with the level of performance, which is obviously something that we are obviously worried about, and we're just hoping that can get addressed and sort of the performances can start sort of being. We're not going to expect performances to be absolutely perfect every single week, but we need to find that sort of happy medium that we're at least working hard, at least putting in a performance that's worthy of wearing a Manchester United shirt, and hopefully then the individual performances can sort of gel together and put a run of form together that will give us a run of games that we can start putting a sort of few wins together.
Definitely. I think if you look at that first half, I think I said the other night after the game, like cohesion. It looked like there was a lack of cohesion kind of at the back, especially. Atalanta did have a lot of counter-attacks. They were very good in moving the ball in transition. They were very good catching us quick on the break. I thought, again, they played through us in midfield quite a lot. And that's like, regardless of what midfield, people talk about this Manchester United midfield. It's probably the biggest talking point of Man United this season. It's been our midfield. Who's going to play in midfield? Whether it's McTominay and Fred, Pogba, Matic, or Fred and Matic, Donny van de Beek, whoever it may be, we're talking about playing in midfield. The recurrent team seems to be happening. Teams seem to be played through us so easily. Do you think that's down to the way Ollie sets us up in the formation? Do you think it's a coaching thing that in terms of our shape isn't being coached? Because obviously, like Dave brings in a comment here, he says Ollie deserves huge kudos for coming in and basically turning the club around, especially around the academy. But has he peaked as a coach and maybe falls short of coaching world-class players? That kind of comes into my question when you think about the same type of goals we're conceding this year in terms of teams being able to have control of the game and play through us in midfield. Do you think this is kind of a structural thing that we're having the problem with, and maybe it's something that isn't being coached into us at the moment?
I think it's a bit of a mix of a few things, really, if I'm honest. I think, when you look at the top teams, not just in England, but in Europe, there's no surprise that all them teams are set in a way which, they press high. They try and win the ball back as high up in the pitch as they can. They all work hard and sort of, get back behind the ball when they're sort of out of possession. And I just think for one reason or another, when I watch Manchester United, especially recently, I just think we're sort of too easy to sort of play against in a defensive unit. I think we get broke through too easily. Players maybe don't probably tuck back in and get back behind the ball and chase back as much as I'd like. Whether that's to do with the formation and what Ollie's telling him, I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, just for me, I just obviously, from a spectator watching, I just feel as though that's the difference in terms of when I watch like the Liverpool, City, and Chelsea and teams like that. They all seem to be sort of on the front foot, try and win the ball high up in the pitch, and then that makes life so much easier. When we sort of do it, it seems like we press in ones and twos, we get picked off, and then it's a helpless task really for, whether it's Fred or McTominay. If you've got two players, like the other night it was 4-2-4, if you've got two players in the midfield against, another team's 3 or 4, you're going to get picked off because they're good players and, there's overload in there. And I feel sorry for him a little bit in that respect, because no matter how fit you are or how much energy and, work rate you've got, you can't sort of legislate for having, that many players to cover that much ground. It's not going to sort of happen. So, yeah, I think we do need to obviously work on that side of things, and we need to sort of come up with a solution sooner rather than later, whether it's personnel or whether the lads just need to even start working a little bit harder. He likes of Bruno and Greenwood and Rashford and Ronaldo, whether they're, going to have to maybe do a little bit more defensively. I just think, that's the difference at the moment between what I'm seeing from, the Man United team and the other teams that I've seen who are doing so well.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head. That I think, like, when you look, we always do get overloaded in midfield, and when you kind of look at the way teams play through us and how other teams like get back into shape in their structure, like Chelsea, I think for me are a great example of it. Like, they're great in the ball, but like in terms of transition and counter attack, they're never really caught because they always have 2 sitters in there. But then also they're 10, like let's say Mason Mount, for example, just using him as a kind of a case here. He works back and they slot into a 3, and all of a sudden Chelsea don't get overloaded. Like their wing backs, James and Chilwell or James and Alonso, like they work exceptionally well, bombing up and down, and they're cutting off on each bits of space that are there. Even with Liverpool's midfield, like I know they have different types of players in there, but like obviously they've like Fabinho, Henderson, Thiago, and he's in there, Curtis Jones, players like that. There's consistent work rate of them. They always try to bomb forward, but there's still always that element of desire and work rate. And sometimes it looks like that we don't have that in midfield, and it's kind of just all off the cuff, And I think sometimes you can get away with that, but as you rightly said, like when you come up against the better teams, you're gonna get found out and you're gonna get caught. And I think that this is where, really truly, if you looked at this run of fixtures that we had before this run that started last week, you'd like to think we would have had something like, I suppose, the form, and we would have had the organisation in place to have, all this ironed out. We shouldn't be talking about ironing this out in November, like late October, early November. I think we should know our best team at this moment in time. I still don't think we do. I think we're still trying to figure that out as a football club, what our best team is, what our best formation is. I think there's a lot of things that still are left to be determined, and it's worrying going into this game this Sunday, because Liverpool, look, I'm just going to call a spade and say it how it is at the moment. In the last three weeks, a month, they've been probably one of the most solid and consistent teams in the league. So they've been very hard to beat. Their forwards are on form. Even Firmino, who was starved for goals last year, he's picking up goals. Mohamed Salah, look, who we're going to touch on in a moment in terms of the comparisons people are making with him with Cristiano, he's on fire. Trent Alexander-Arnold is putting his socks up after a disappointing season last season. We need to be very careful this weekend that we don't, put ourselves into a situation where we're clawing it back within the first 20 minutes of the game again. And Liverpool are going to go for it from minute off. I don't care what anyone says, that's the way they go. They're always on the front foot, they're always pressing, they're aggressive. But it's concerning where, with no disrespect to these teams, but teams who are lesser teams than us on paper are playing us off the park at home. Villa played us off the park at home, large parts, though they got around us. An injury-ravaged Everton team battered us in midfield. Decore and Allen are very good players, but we got absolutely battered off the park by the two of them, in the Everton game, and that was minus Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison as well. That could have been a lot worse, considering that it was Rondon up front. With, again, no disrespect to him, but he's levels below the two lads as well. So I think you have to look and say, it's concerning. We do have the quality to rectify it, but your confidence levels just can't be high at the minute, because the results and performances, there's no correlation there. And I think that's where, I suppose if you're a fan or former player or whatever it may be, the concerns are going to be there because of our performances, because of the results as of late.
Yeah, and I agree totally with that, what you've just said. The worrying thing I have for me is obviously when you look at the other managers, Thomas Tuchel, Jurgen Klopp, and Pep Guardiola. No disrespect to Ollie, and obviously you know my thoughts on Ollie and what I think about him, but them three managers are probably one of the best in the world at what they do, and they seem to have the total respect of all the players. They seem to be able to motivate the players to do exactly what they're asked of them week in, week out on a regular basis. And it seems like they'll all run through brick walls for them managers. I'm not saying that's not the case at Manchester United. I just feel as though the sort of work rate and the sort of will to win and sort of the desire and sort of all aspects just seem to be a little bit off the mark in terms of when I watch the other clubs and when I watch Manchester United, which it shouldn't be like that. Whether that's the players not being able to motivate themselves, whether that's Ollie not being able to pick the right players in the right system. I just feel as though something's missing a little bit at Manchester United at this moment in time. See glimpses of it in sort of certain games at certain times, which, when you see it and you see how good we are, obviously the second half the other night is a prime example. It's fantastic football, goals going in, crosses going into the box, which is what you want to see as a Manchester United fan with the players we've got. I just feel like it's, you just can't sort of get that continuity in the performances for a sustained period of time. And obviously looking at Liverpool game on Sunday, as you said, they're going to be coming out the blocks from minute one. They're going to want to sort of set the stall out and try and, take the game to Manchester United. And, if you can't get yourself up for that game, then you may as well pack it back in now, because obviously a derby match, in front of a packed out crowd, there's no bigger occasion. As you mentioned, it's probably the biggest game in English football. But yeah, just hoping that we can maybe, keep them quiet for the first sort of half an hour, set ourselves into the game a little bit, and then we've everything to play for. But as you say, with the form that they've got in terms of like Mo Salah, who's been absolutely breathtaking this season. It's going to be a hard game. It's going to be a tough task, but we just obviously have to see how it pans out.
Yeah, look, hopefully we can get the 3 points. And look, guys, we will be talking about how we're going to set up what teams we think we should play. Also, we get our score predictions as well later on in the podcast as well. Lee unfortunately couldn't join us, say he's feeling unwell. Hopefully he gets well soon. I do have Lee's prediction as well. So look, we will keep our trend of score predictions and certain them predictions going on this podcast. I was going to call to a couple of comments here just before I get on to my next point. Dave says Phil makes a great point about pressing high. With that said, would you go with Cavani up front and Ronaldo on the left?
It's an option. I mean, that's something that Ollie may consider. I just go off, the modern game now, and football's changed a lot in the last, few years in terms of, teams now, the top teams. When I watch all the top teams around Europe and in England, there's no surprise. All the players are really fit. They work the socks off for 90 minutes or for 70 minutes, and then they get brought off and somebody else comes on and works exactly the way they was working. And when you watch these teams, it's no surprise that all the players are sort of, attacking players, but putting a shift in. And then obviously, I think Gary Neville actually did a sort of stats thing on Monday Night Football where he looked at the 14 highest pressing attackers in the Premier League, and there was only one from Manchester United in the top 14. The other 14 was made up from Chelsea, Man City, and Liverpool, which for me shows exactly why we're not sort of challenging with them three clubs at this moment in time in terms of consistent results and sort of, the level that they're at. I think it was Jadon Sancho, who's obviously not been playing his best.
And has played less minutes than a lot of players as well that have been in the team as well.
Yeah, exactly. So, fair play to him. He's obviously putting a shift in. He's not, hit the ground running in terms of goals and assists and stuff yet, which, he's probably feeling a bit of pressure himself from not doing that, obviously with the price tag and stuff. But, he can't really question his work rate and his sort of attitude. But yeah, again, it's just, something that we may consider. Ronaldo on the left, Cavani up top. I mean, Ollie's got loads of options that he can pick from in them sort of, front three slots. There's numerous options and sort of formations and permutations he could use. But I do like the sound of Cavani down the middle and possibly Ronaldo on the left. It could work. I mean, we've not really tried that as yet. So whether he'll do that against Liverpool, I'm not sure, but it's something we could possibly look at in the next sort of couple of games, because I do think that would sort of work. I do like both of them, and the other night when they was both on the pitch, the game sort of was heavily in our favour. So yeah, I wouldn't rule that sort of out.
Yeah, 100%. Just before I get to my thoughts on that as well, it's going to come to Daniel's comment here as well. And welcome, Daniel. He said, Phil, completely off subject. I think I saw you play for Barrow on the Redmo. I only lived 30 minutes in there, so watch them when I can.
Yeah, good times actually. Thanks for that, Daniel. Really enjoyed my time at Barrow. Good club. Used to get some big crowds, and yeah, we had a good side at that moment when I went on loan actually. They were struggling a little bit, and I went up there and we sort of went on a really good run. So yeah, good memories from playing there, and obviously nice to sort of see that comment there from Daniel. Appreciate that, mate. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks very much for your comment, Daniel. Do drop your thoughts in, Daniel, as well, about tonight's show and what you think about this game coming up this weekend. But yeah, look, for me, I think if you look at the Cavani and Ronaldo situation, I think especially teams who we can stretch, and where we do have problems breaking down teams who sit on the 18, 100% you get Cavani on there, because his movement, like his off the ball movement, if you're looking at natural number 9s in the world, I think it's second to none. It's right up there in terms of the best in the world in terms of his off the ball movement, his ability to drag defenders out of position, and the way he times his runs is world class. Obviously, Ronaldo was the greatest player of all time. And having him up there, he's always going to be a threat. Like again, he worked his socks off the other night again, and like he did show other elements to his game, like defending. He was like watching the game on the ground, watching him track back, watching him like towards the last 10 minutes of the game, dropping as a centre half almost at stages towards the end, and being that leader. That's what you need. And we're talking about needing to be cohesive and needing to obviously play as a team. Them for the last 45 minutes show that Cristiano can do that as well. You know, that he can contribute, not just scoring goals. And I think, look, that first half for me, absolute utter disaster. Like it was like, you know, we didn't take our chances. We then go in 2-0 down, and look, to be fair, like we weren't happy to know that was the case. But one thing I'd like to say, even despite being 2-0 down, I know we weren't at the ground, Phil, but you did watch the game. I do have to throw massive props to the Red Army down at the Stretford end. They kept the whole stadium going from minute 1 to minute 90, even before the game. You know, Ollie's at the wheel was going 15, 20 minutes before the game, right until kickoff. You know, all the songs were going, the atmosphere. They really got the team over the line over 90 minutes. And massive props to them. I think the Red Army's the singing section down there has been one of the best things to happen in Old Trafford in recent years. And the support is second to none. And having that, it's like having an away end in Old Trafford, like having that there. And kudos to them, because they did drag us over the line. I really do believe that, from being there and experiencing it the other night. I think it was the atmosphere in Old Trafford really was great. The fans really got behind the team. And look, there's games where you're going to need that, even if you're not having your best performance. Like, you look, the first 45 for large parts, like, wasn't the greatest. Second half, we come back, the fans, our 12th man, drag us over the line, and sometimes you're going to need that. You need that bit of luck. You need that kind of extra push. It's not sustainable by any means, but it's great to have that level of support back. And look, it shows what we're missing kind of during, I suppose, the pandemic in the last kind of 18 months, 2 years.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I got that vibe anyway, just from watching it off the telly. The support and the fans were absolutely fantastic from minute one. And, you know, I had every right to be, you know, disappointed and upset. And, you know, after 45 minutes of watching that, the sort of stuck by the team. And second half, as you rightly said, then, you know, I think that was a massive part in sort of the result, you know, finishing in our favour. I think, you know, if the crowd wouldn't have been as vocal and, you know, maybe sort of turned a little bit negative, some of them players, you know, maybe have, you know, after a bad loss against Leicester, losing that away record, you know, not having the best of times, could have maybe gone hiding. But obviously, I think that sort of galvanised the players when we got the goal, and the crowd was electric, and sort of the momentum was on our side. I think it was, you know, a fantastic performance in the second half, and I think the fans and stuff need to take massive credit for that, because you know, after that first half performance, they didn't really you know, need to do that, and you know, I wouldn't have you know, blamed any of them if they didn't want to support, not in terms of, you know, support the team, but I just think because obviously the way the performance was and recent results, I think that sort of galvanised the team, the way the crowd was still chanting and making the presence known, and it was great to see. And obviously, you know, Cristiano popped up with that last minute winner, as he does in the Champions League, as sort of you know, on tap sort of thing, because he's a man for a big occasion, and obviously that was a fantastic header to win the game for us. And again, it was a massive 3 points. I think at the sort of first half we was bottom of the group, and sort of finished the night top of the group, so it was a massive 3 points. Again, lots we can work on, and it wasn't a complete performance by any means, but you know, certainly a better 45 minutes, and something we can sort of take into Sunday.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. And thank God we got them 3 points, because like these two games against Atalanta, a 6-pointer, like it is crucial that you win them home games, and then, you know, pick up a point or two away from home, as Sir Alex used to always say, and that gets you through, you know. And look, that away at Atalanta, that's going to be, again, another hard game. They're a very good team at home. They showed to Old Trafford, albeit as well, I need to say that they were missing 5 first-team players as well. So, though Gasperini is a good manager, and they are a good team, going away there is going to be tough. and there's no shame in saying that because they are a great team. But look, it'd be interesting to see how we get on there away from home. But just moving away from that game, obviously one player who played that game has played fantastically well in the 2 games back is Marcus Rashford, injury free after 2 years of playing through injury. What's your overall thoughts on Marcus's return in these last 2 games, and do you think he can give us that spark now to really push forward in these next couple of weeks?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's done really well. He's obviously scored 2 goals in both games. He come on against Leicester and got us sort of back into the game for sort of that brief 15-second spell. But yeah, no, it was a great finish, and that's something that you want when you've been out injured for such a long time. You want to come back and try and get an early goal or make an impact in some way, and I think that'll give him a lot of confidence. And sort of made him feel sort of back part of the team, which is great for him. Obviously, it's still early days. Against Atalanta, he sort of was a little bit hit and miss. I think in the first half he had a couple of opportunities where maybe 6 weeks down the line he maybe would have slotted them in with a little bit more composure. Sometimes when you come back from an injury, you snatch at things and you're a little bit sort of off the pace and things don't quite go your way. But I definitely think he's brought something to the squad that we was maybe lacking. And for me, he's someone who's always going to be a threat in behind his pace. And obviously the goal against Atalanta, it was a fantastic pass from Bruno, and obviously a very composed finish, which he had a couple of chances prior to that, and he was maybe a little bit off the mark and a little bit rusty, but that was a fantastic finish, and he looked sort of back to his best with sort of that moment, and obviously that got us back into the game. So yeah, obviously hoping he can build on that and keep sort of these goals and sort of good performances in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, 100%. And look, I think he's a welcome addition to this team, especially when you consider. I think one thing we were lacking, I know we've had Cristiano and we've had Cavani and we've obviously had Sancho and Greenwood there as well. But one thing we've been seriously lacking this season is a runner, to player to go beyond the Ronaldo, to go beyond a Cavani, to go beyond a Greenwood. And Rashford gives us that. He helps us stretch teams. And you can see that in the second half. He did stretch Atalanta. Even I know that brief time he came on at Leicester, look, I said, got us back into the game for 15 seconds. He did help us stretch him. I think that's where I think he's going to be important this week in terms of helping stretch Trent Alexander-Arnold, help stretch Joel Matip and Van Dijk at the back. But look, he's been a welcome addition. Now look, I know that he may have picked up a potential knock. They're saying he mightn't be available, but hopefully he did train today, and hopefully look he's okay coming into Sunday, because look, we all know what Marcus is like when he plays against Liverpool. He always does have a great game. He always scores a goal, and he always, like, no disrespect to Trent Alexander-Arnold, he's a very good young player, but Rashford always has him on toast every single time he plays against him. So I think we need him on Sunday fully fit and firing and ready to go, because he's a fantastic footballer, and again, someone who's crucial to give us that extra kind of edge in the attack. I was going to come to Jason's comment here. Jason says Rashford's a great goal threat and running in behind. Why does he miss the easy chances but score the harder ones? Phil, as an attacker, you have to answer that one for me.
Yeah, I mean, he is a frustrating. I've said this a few times about Rashford. He is a frustrating player. I mean, you see things, glimpses sometimes, and you think, like, that's unbelievable. It's world class. He's definitely sort of, in the sort of category when you see him and he's on form to be one of the top players in world football. But as we just touched on there, I think sometimes he sort of does let himself down in sort of big moments when he goes through, and he should be a little bit more composed, or he maybe makes the wrong decision or whatever it may be. But again, he's still only relatively young. He should be sort of overcoming them situations now with the amount of games he's played, and obviously playing the top level for so long. But we've seen it over the years with loads of players. Theo Walcott was the same. Raheem Sterling's another one who's, gets into positions sometimes you think, how can a professional footballer do that? But, for the amount of bad things he does, he does do a lot of good things as well. And obviously with that, you just touched on it there, the penetration, and he gives us something different with them runs in behind, which I think we've lacked. And been a little bit predictable, I think, maybe for certain teams with the lineups in terms of not, having that runner in behind, which Marcus will obviously, bring back to the squad now and being back fit. I think he is a sort of welcome addition, and
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And again, like if you can get this Trent on toast, because one thing, like I think if you notice the game at Old Trafford, and we're going to touch on the Liverpool game now, we're going to break it down. Like if you look at that game at Old Trafford last season, where they beat us 4-2, when Pogba played in the left that day, Trent was able to expose the right hand side, and he did play quite well. Whereas, when Rashford plays there, Trent doesn't get that space. He doesn't push that much forward because of Rashford's threat in behind every time. So I think it's important that we have him in this game on Sunday, because his penetration is directness going forward, and he can beat a man, and he can score something off the cuff, which is something that is always great to have.
Yeah, 100%. As you say, he's somebody who gives us that different dynamic to our play. He's always done well against Liverpool, and I don't think Trent Alexander-Arnold would be looking forward to playing against Rashford. As you say, he's done well in him in previous games. So for me, he's someone who, if he's fully fit, sort of obviously after that potential injury the other night, then he would be a certain starter for me. But yeah, it'll just be interesting, obviously, to see what kind of formation and what sort of what lineup he goes for, because obviously, the Atalanta game, second half, we finished sort of with 4-2-4, and against Liverpool, that maybe playing into their hands a little bit. I think
You're signing the debt warrant, I think, if you're playing 4-2-4 against Liverpool on our big pitch.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm hoping he sort of realises and sees that, and sort of thinks we need to be a little bit more solid and try and maybe play on the counter attack maybe at times. But yeah, obviously we'll have to see how it pans out. I think obviously Pogba came on in the second half the other night and sort of did well after being left out. So he'll obviously want to be maybe starting at that game. So it sort of begs to see who he's going to leave out and who he's going to bring in. So interesting to sort of talk about.
Yeah, definitely. And we're going to dive in starting 11 predictions in just in a couple of minutes. Next thing I kind of want to touch on, Phil, is I know it's been in the media like in last week, because obviously we're playing against him on Sunday, but there's been a lot of comparisons between Mo Salah and Cristiano Ronaldo this week. Obviously, look, we all know what Cristiano Ronaldo has done in the Premier League in a Manchester United shirt, but previously when he was here, and obviously in his second spell at United now, he's been revelation since he's come back. He's been scoring goals. He's been kind of a great leader. Look, just touch on the form of Mohamed Salah. A lot of people are saying he's kind of the best player in the world right now. He's the most informed player in the league. He's scoring fantastic goals for Liverpool. Are you concerned about Mo Salah this weekend because of the way he's been playing, and what your overall thoughts to us on the overall form of Mo Salah?
Yeah, I mean, first off, I'd never ever compare Mo Salah to Ronaldo. I'll just put that one out there.
Yeah,
I don't think the sort of the same player, and obviously it'd be disrespectful to Cristiano to sort of compare Mo Salah to him. But that being said, Mo Salah is an absolutely unbelievable player, and the form he's been in sort of this season, especially with some of the goals he's been scoring recently, he is sort of in the conversation to sort of being that sort of best player in the world at this moment in time. Definitely, he's a threat. He scores most weeks. He's always works his socks off, and for me, he's going to be the man on Sunday who we need to try our best to sort of keep sort of off limits, if you like. I think we need to sort of be aware of his runs in behind, but it's difficult because of how strong and how quick he is. I just hope that, the way Ollie sets up, we sort of have that little bit more extra protection, to sort of, not leave the fullbacks isolated like Mane and sort of Salah. When the 1v1, there's not many better in the league who can, sort of create something, or that speed off the mark, the sort of first few yards, they're lethal. And yeah, he is obviously a really exceptional talent, and his numbers speak for himself in terms of goals to games ratio for Liverpool. So yeah, massive sort of player we need to be aware of, which I'm sure everyone watches football, everyone knows how much of a threat Mo Salah is, and no difference to sort of any team when you're preparing against Liverpool. He's going to be the main man who you're looking at to keep sort of quiet.
Yeah, definitely. And look, I think when you look at him this season, he's been a great player for him. Like, look, again, I'm not anyone who knows me before I even came on this podcast knows it. I'm not one to give a Liverpool player praise. I don't have it in me, but you have to call a spade and look at the form of Mo Salah. Look, he's been fantastic. He's been fantastic this season, and even last year when Van Dijk and Jordan Henderson, all these different players who've been injured in these last season, the 12 months of Liverpool, Salah stepped up last year and did get Liverpool a lot of goals to help them get into the top four when it looked like they weren't even going to finish top six, when they were in that kind of bad run of form, between January and March. Like, I think he's a fantastic footballer. But again, like, if you're comparing Ronaldo and Salah and you're talking about both of their primes, there's no debate. Like, Cristiano Ronaldo in his prime, Mo Salah in his prime, there's only one winner, and that's Cristiano, all day and twice on Sundays. And hopefully, again, when I say twice on Sundays, that happens this Sunday. But like, I do think, yes, he's a good player. We do have to show him respect, because he at the moment they're talking about in form in the world right now, probably the most potent attacker in world football at the moment. And we do have to be aware of what his strengths are. But at the same time, look, we do have to be more ambitious in ourselves and do go out and attack this game. We do. But again, I think if you look at these comparisons, if you're talking prime, both of them in their prime, then there's no comparison. Ronaldo won the league and Champions League. He won every trophy possible at Man United. That's just his time at Man United. If you really want to talk prime Ronaldo throughout his career, if you want to talk Real Madrid, Juventus, there's no debate. There's no debate. But again, that's not me throwing shade at Liverpool or throwing shade at Mo Salah or throwing shade at anybody. It's just still a simple fact in terms of where they both are when they're in their prime. And again, look, it's a debate that can be had, but it's not a very long one if you ask me. But looking into this weekend, Phil, obviously formations and systems and all that have been talked about quite recently in terms of what we should play. Obviously, there's no secret we've been leaking goals in these last kind of couple of weeks. We've been scoring them, but we've also been leaking them. I'm going to get your starting 11 prediction from you in terms of what way you think we should set up, what formation you think should go, what personnel should be in there, and what way do you think we could set up, and where do you think we can maybe give Liverpool a threat this weekend?
Yeah, I think it's a difficult one. Obviously, there's been talk maybe Bruno's not going to be, fully fit again now for Sunday. So if he's obviously not fit, then who maybe slots in there in that position? Does Van der Beek get a chance, or do we, put Pogba back in from the start and maybe play Fred and McTominay? I don't really know what he's going to do. Personally, for me, my team against Liverpool would be De Gea in net. I'd play Wan-Bissaka, Maguire. If is Varane back, I'm pretty sure Varane.
I don't think so. He's still out till next week, I believe.
Yeah, so obviously it'll probably still be Lindelof and Shaw, and then I think the way he's been talking about Fred as well in the press, I think he's sort of main man in that sort of sitting role. So I think it'll be Fred. Me personally, I'd put Pogba back in there with Bruno if obviously he's fit, and then you've probably got to start with Rashford. Obviously, in terms of what we've just talked about, that threat in behind, the games he's had against Trent Alexander-Arnold. He's someone who I think will give us a different sort of dynamic and be able to have an out ball sometimes when we maybe need that ball in behind, and then Cristiano down the middle. And I would go Greenwood just because obviously he can score a goal out of nothing, and he's been sort of one of our sort of most potent threats sort of this season. But yeah, again, that'll all depend on whether people are fit. Obviously, Rashford potentially might not be, and Bruno maybe sort of some have said he may not be fully fit for the game. So it just depends on sort of them two players for me. But that would be my team.
Yeah, you might be too far off, especially I think maybe with the middle of the park as well. I'm going to go obviously De Gea in the net. I was playing around with the fact that people are saying that we might go 3 at the back, but I'd rather see us go stick with what we know and no time for, I suppose, experimenting.
Yeah,
there's no time for.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a too big of a game, if you like, to sort of just change a formation.
Yeah,
and maybe
I know I was at the game 2 seasons ago when Ollie did change us to a 3-5-2 against them, and it worked well for 81 minutes until Lallana scored that goal. But we had to do that out of circumstance rather than, I suppose,
to try and make it effective.
Yeah, but look, that's when we had a lesser team than we have now. So for me, I'll go with the same formation. I'm going to go with De Gea in the net. Same back four as you. I'm going to go Wan-Bissaka, Lindelof, Maguire, Shaw. I'm actually going to go with the same midfield too. Reece is going to love this now, but I'm going Fred and Pogba. And midfield, I'm going to go with that midfield too. That finished off the Atalanta game. I think Fred was very effective in that second half and played very well. I think, look, he does. There is games where he can play well. There's other games he can have an absolute stinker. I'm not going to beat around the bush that there is times he can play very poorly. But yeah, I'm going to go Fred Pogba in the middle. But then again, look, if McTominay's available and Fred's available, I think he may go with the two of them because their sheer energy and match Liverpool's intensity in midfield with likes of Henderson and Fabinho in there. But look, I will stick to my guns. I go Fred Pogba. If Bruno's out, I go with Jesse in the 10 for his energy, his tenacity, his movement on and off the ball. I think that will be needed to cause problems. That's only if Bruno's out. If Bruno's fit, you have to start him, no question. But if Bruno's out, Lingard has to start for me. I know people say Donny, but I don't think this is a type of game for Donny van de Beek. Really and truly, I think if you're looking at match sharpness, Jesse's probably more match fit than what Donny is at the moment. And if you're talking about players who have made impact this season, I think he's a player who he's a goal threat, played very well against Liverpool last season in that role as well for West Ham. So if it's a case where Bruno's out, I think Jesse Lingard in the number 10 role, for me anyway, would be the right decision. On the right, I'm going to go... I've been playing around this one all day. I'm debating it. I'll go Greenwood. I'll go Greenwood off the right just because, look, he's probably more informed than Jadon at the minute. And I think if you look at goal threat, he's probably more of a goal threat at the moment. And he gives Andy Robertson, I suppose, something to think about if he is going forward, because Mason is so good off both feet that if the centre back shows Mason onto his right, that he can put one past Alisson, no problem. So for me, I'll go Mason off the right, Rashford off the left, and I'm going to go Cristiano up top. But look, we could easily put Cavani up top and Ronaldo off the left if Rashford is out. But that's what I'm going to go with in terms of my 11. Was going to go 3 at the back and maybe go with Rashford and Ronaldo up top and put Bailly in there. That was in my thought process, and then go with Pogba and Fred in midfield and Bruno in front of them. But I think if you have that team, it's good enough to win. And look, hopefully get 3 points. I think that's the most important thing. And get through this run with a bit of momentum, because look, the manager is under pressure, players are under pressure, and we're all in kind of a place now where we're unsure of where we're going to be at the end of this run. We can't hand on heart say we're going to be in a good place. We can't really hand on heart say we're going to be in a bad place at the moment because the results are just up in the air at the minute. They're all over the place. So I think we have to look at this run and hopefully get through it and collect as much points as we are possible. Because I think the last thing we need, last thing we want, is to be in a position where we're at the end of November, early December, and we're out of the title race completely, and then we're fighting for top four. That's where none of us want to be. If you consider the fact like we finished second last year, third the season before, and then you bring in Varane, Sancho, and Ronaldo, you can't be out. You can't not be in a good place come Christmas to that team. All you know is that the fans know that players know it. I think this is where look, a lot of United fans do have their concerns, but hopefully these next few weeks the players step up, Ollie steps up. Hopefully we're having a more positive conversation next couple of weeks in terms of where we are, because at the moment there's a lot of pessimism around Man United at the minute, a lot of pessimism around the fans, and hopefully, we that can be all eradicated. It's more of a positive conversation we're having in terms of results and performances, and hopefully they're more consistent, because it's all well and good being consistent over 45 minutes. You need to be consistent over 90. And if you're not putting up consistent performances over 90 minutes, you're not going to win trophies. It's simple as that. You can only get away with making comebacks and nicking late goals for so long. Eventually, you're gonna get caught, and this run will show whether we can actually be that consistent team. There's nowhere to hide. These next few weeks, and you have Liverpool, you have Man City, you have Chelsea, you have Tottenham, Arsenal. There's nowhere to hide for this team now, and this is where we do have to showcase our quality. This is where the players have to show their character, because they showed it in abundance in them 45 minutes. Show for 90. You get paid enough. You're world class. A lot of these players go out and show it, earn your wages, and play for the badge. That's what they have to do. And if they don't, well, unfortunately, who's going to pay the price? Fans, football club, everybody. So hopefully these next few weeks we do pick it up and we're still in there within a shout, and all this social media hysteria that we always see every day quietens down, because quite frankly, if I'd be honest, I'm absolutely sick to death of going on social media during or after the United game, because it's just an absolute cesspit at the minute. But Phil, just before we get our score predictions in, I'd like to ask you, obviously you've been a player at the football club, you've been around the club during United Liverpool games. Personally for you, what's your favourite United Liverpool memory?
There's been a few. I mean, are you talking about at Old Trafford or just in general?
In general for yourself. You can give me a few.
One of the best ones was the just for me, just because of obviously I was at the game. It was John O'Shea when he scored at Anfield, and he didn't know what to do, and he didn't know how to celebrate. That was one that always sort of stuck out in my memory. Forlan as well. Obviously, he scored a couple of goals at Anfield. Maybe didn't have quite the sort of time at the club that you may have wanted, but obviously went down as a bit of a cult hero for them goals that he scored at Anfield. Rio Ferdinand's goal, the volley, was another good goal. What sticks out for me in the Liverpool games at Old Trafford. But I mean, just thinking back to these games, I think, in terms of Sunday, form and all that kind of thing goes out the window. I remember the build up to, playing against Liverpool. It's just about, who wants it more on the day. Tackles will be flying in, everyone will be up for it. You've got to channel your emotions, and you've just got to sort of, put your mind on the task, and that's winning the game and coming out on top no matter what. You sort of fighting on the pitch. You're at war for 90 minutes, and the fans expect nothing less than 100% effort, 100% commitment. They understand sometimes players are going to have off games, but there's no excuse for not working your socks off and putting a shift in, and that's against any team, not just derby games. So for me, it's going to be a great game. Obviously, neutrals will probably be relishing the thought of watching that game. But yeah, for me, it's just about on the day who can take the chances, who can channel them emotions the best, and obviously it'll be an exciting game because both teams have got fantastic individual players. So yeah, just hoping that we can get a performance because football's a funny game. Obviously you just mentioned there about social media and the fans and it being a cesspit. But if we beat Liverpool on Sunday and then we get another good result in the next game, football's sort of a happy place again, and fans are sort of in a better place. The players will have a bit more confidence, and a couple of wins sometimes can make a massive difference in a football club and in a player's head. And that's why everyone loves football so much. I think it's obviously one of them games where it's a results based business, but at the end of the day, you can one week you can be down here, and then the next week you're back up there again. And I'm just hoping that this can be sort of the catalyst, this game on Sunday, for getting everyone back on side and on board, put a good performance in, get a good 3 points, and sort of just try and build on that.
Yeah, 100%. I think this game could be a catalyst, for us to really drive on and really make a good run of things. So you beat Liverpool, like you can maybe forget about the loss against Villa or the draw against Everton. You can maybe forget about it then because we've went out and we've beat the best team in the league. At this moment in time. So I think, look, as I said, form goes out the window. This is the biggest game in English football, and I'd even go as far as say if you're looking at club football in the world, El Clasico probably is the only thing that comes close to it, really, in terms of rivalry, like in terms of Manchester United and Liverpool, in terms of success. But look, it is a huge game. Obviously, look, I'm probably tonight and tomorrow night, I'm probably 2 sleepless nights for me to just thinking about the game. It's the one game I never want to lose. You never want to lose any game of football, really, do you? But like losing to Liverpool, it's just something different about it because of the rivalry. Do you know what I mean? And it's just, I'm not going to sleep for 2 days.
Yeah, you have to stay off Twitter if we get beat for a few days.
I'd be logging off social media. I'd be closing the blinds. I'd be doing absolutely everything. Luckily, I'm working from home now, so there'll be no walking into the office Monday morning for me. But obviously, look, we get the score predictions for the game, Phil, in terms of how we think it's going to go down. Going to get Lee's score prediction up here first of all. Because unfortunately, he couldn't join us tonight, and he's unwell at the moment. Lee has predicted entertaining 2-2 draw. Now, I didn't get his goal scores off him, which I do not. I'm actually going to text him now while we're on the show live. We're breaking the fourth wall here. I'm going to text Lee and get his score, Manchester United scores for his 2-2 prediction. Whilst we're doing that, Phil, fire away. Give me your score prediction for Sunday.
Yeah, I actually agree with Lee in terms of I think there'll be a lot of goals. I think it'll be an open game. I think just because of the way Liverpool play and obviously the players that are going to be on the pitch for both sides, I think there is going to be a lot of goals. I'm going to say 3-2 to United. I think it'll just be. I don't think it'll be a big margin in terms of a team winning by 3 or 4. I think it'll be a close game in terms of the winning margin. But I'm going to go for 3-2 for United.
So Phil is going to go 3-2. Who's your first Man United goal scorer?
First goal scorer, I'm going to go for Greenwood.
Mason Greenwood. So Phil's going 3-2, and with Mason Greenwood getting the first goal for Man United. I was going to come to another couple of comments with regards to score predictions. We have Reese in the house. Reese says 2-2 for his prediction. Jason says 3-1. Scott McTominay for a goal scorer. And also we have Carlers here as well. I want to win, but we can't keep a clean sheet, so I'm going to go 3-2 as well. A lot of 2-2s and 3-2s. Lee has just messaged me back, and Lee says his 2 goal scorers are Cristiano Ronaldo and Bruno Fernandes for his 2 goal scorers there. So thanks very much for that for Lee. I'm going to go. We are conceding. I know that for a fact. Liverpool will get one, or at least one. I don't want to. I'm going to go. Do you know what? I'm going to go 2-1 United. I'll go 2-1. I'm going to go Ronaldo to score the opener. 1-1 then. Probably Salah or Firmino scores. And then I'm going to go Edison Cavani to score the winner. That would just be absolutely beautiful. The Old Trafford would go absolutely mental if Cavani would score the winner. I just love Edison Cavani. I just wish he signed for us a lot earlier because he's a big, beautiful man. That's what he is. What a player. Andrew also says 2-1 as well in his prediction as well. So a lot of goals, but a lot of confidence coming out from Man United fans in the comments here today. So look, absolutely bang on. Thanks very much, guys, for your comments this evening. We will wrap it up there for this evening's podcast, guys. Look, thanks very much, everyone, for tuning in across all our social media platforms. And we will be back next week with our Friday podcast, usual time at 7 p.m. And it'll be myself, Phil, and Lee talking this game, Liverpool game, and also the upcoming game next weekend as well. So do tune into that as well. And don't forget, the guys, do smash a like on the video. Hit that subscribe button and hit the bell notification below Phil as well. For get notification for every show. I'm after being thrown off now because I'm after getting another comment in here from Reese. He says a Lindelof goal with a Fred assist. Reese, if that happens, right, I will go on Twitter on Sunday evening if we win this game and Lindelof scores and Fred gets the assist. And I will personally give you all the praise in the world. I really will. You can let me you can tweet out whatever you want me to tweet out from my page praising you this Sunday. If that happens, by the way, if Fred assists Lindelof for a goal, I'll let you do. You can have control over one tweet on social media if that happens, Reese. I'm not confident it doesn't happen, but we'll see what happens on the weekend. But with Phil's facial expression, he's in agreement it's not happening.
You'd probably get about 500 to 1 for that to happen.
500 to 1 on Paddy Power.
Put a quid on that, Reese. Be worth a quid.
Yeah, definitely.
You've got to do it now because if it comes in,
100%. Reese going mad in the comments saying excellent. He's absolutely loving this here. But look, we will end it there. Do subscribe, guys. Do check out our website www.talktodevils.co.uk. And as always, do tune in to our Monday podcast with Wayne and Paul Parker, and also Dave's podcast with Scott Wotton as well. Do check that out also. A lot of great content on this channel, and a lot of great match day content as well, with the scenes from Old Trafford and their away days as well. It's absolutely fantastic. A lot of content to suit absolutely everybody. So do check it out, and also on our audio platforms and iTunes, Spotify, you know the deal. But look, do come back with us next Friday, and we'll be with the next edition of Talking Devils. Until then, thanks very much.